Hey, it is another Sunday. It's a chance to give us a live opportunity to talk to you here on the Sports Rush. I am Brett Rump, Adam Lundy jumping on in just a second. And coming up tonight, we are going to be talking to John Coffman, Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball coach. They finished off their summer workouts. We got to find out with this little bit of a break between the summer workouts and the start of fall practice. Where is this team at? Who are some of the opponents going to be? Just kind of touching base with Coach Coffman. We're not going to dive too deep, but we do have some questions about the Mastodons, and we'll talk to him. Also, coming up later in the show, we got to talk some more high school football and Indiana Hoosiers football. And the coach, Shannon Griffith, who joins us for our high school football coverage, will join us as well. Always glad to have you on board. Don't forget, while you're joining the show, you want to subscribe. Make sure if you're not on YouTube, because here's the thing. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on X, and people are watching on all different platforms. And so what we would ask at some point, if you can, to get onto YouTube and make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to give us a thumbs up, a like. Make sure you share the channel because that's really where we're going to see our growth with what we're doing, trying to keep local sports alive with the talk show, trying to keep you up to date with what's happening with sports that mean the most to Fort Wayne area people. Now, of course, I have to bring in our co-host and producer and star of the television show on Friday nights called High School Football Postgame. It is Adam Lundy.
How you
Adam,
doing today?
again, what are you working on
Hey,
7 days straight? What's going on?
I think I had last Monday off, so I'll have a day off again tomorrow. Mondays are usually my off days, so I can't say 7. I can tell you 6.
Well, if you had last Monday off and you work today, today's the seventh day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Yeah, I
Sunday.
guess. I guess
Well, I
I was
guess,
thinking
wait a
like,
minute. No, no, you had Monday off. That you did have six. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
oh,
Yeah.
math is not our strong suit still. We may be
No.
able to figure out the YouTube technology,
Well, if
but
you're off every Monday, yeah, it would only be 6 days. All right. What a
yeah.
great start to the show. Really appreciate it. Watch all the people leave. All right, we got to talk high school football, brother. It's now upon us. We've got week one in the books. And high school football is one of those sports that goes so lightning fast. I know we're always talking about the previews and the preseason, and then we get to week one and we talk about the first 2 or 3 weeks of trying to figure out who's got it, who doesn't have it. And then the next thing you know, we're talking postseason and teams playing for their lives. And here we are, end of week one. It's upon us quickly. It seems like we're still in summer, but this is a true sign of fall. And the first night, we had a good one. We had Leo and Lures, and that's a tongue twister. Believe me, I fought with it all night long Friday.
Yeah,
Every
a lot
time
of
I'd
lot of
start to
L's.
say "l," it was something wrong would come out. It was a difficult night, but we had a chance to cover Leo and Lures on Friday night, and the two teams' defense ruled the night. I don't know if we expected it. When I looked at the rosters ahead of this game, the thing that really jumped out at me was Bishop Lures has a huge offensive line, averaging 290 pounds. And these aren't guys that are just short and rather wide. These are athletes at 290, 300, 325. I mean, 6'8", 280, 6'4", 325. I mean, these are just some big, well-fed young men that are athletes that can move, and so I thought maybe that offensive line was going to be a key for Bishop Lures. I wasn't sure Leo could handle it. Leo did handle it. Leo got a break because they made the interception. Nate Foster got a chance to play some D to start the second half, made a pick on one of the first plays. In fact, I think it was the first play of the second half. And the short field turned out to be Leo's friend. They punch it in, take a 14-7 to 7 lead, and then their defense shuts the door the rest of the way.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said during our Friday night post game show, it ended up not being a fantastic first night, a great week one for SAC schools.
Well, I'm here. Yeah, SAC schools went 2-8, and I'd love to get your comments. I got to make sure my comments box is open because I'd love to get your comments on what you think about the first week of non-conference. Because for years we've said the SAC needs to challenge themselves. If they're going to get any better, they've got to accept that challenge. The problem is they 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 haven't answered the bell for that challenge.
It's a case of have they bitten off more than they can chew.
Oh, I like that. There you go. But the point is, they go down, they take on some of the powers in the Indy area, and you almost feel like it's scheduling homecoming for the teams in Indy because they just beat up on our Fort Wayne schools. I don't like to see it. I hate to see it. I want to see our Fort Wayne schools on the same plane. And maybe we don't have as many 6A, but if a 6A from here goes down and plays a 6A from there, I want to see a competitive game. And I hope we have one this Friday when Center Grove comes up to Carroll, because that's going to be our game of the week, and that's where we will be this Friday night. But the results, not exactly anything to write home about for the opening week for the Summit Athletic Conference. Carroll did compete with Hamilton Southeastern, a fairly tight defensive game. 14-7 was the final. The Royals win it down in Fishers. And now, as we said, Carroll will take on Center Grove, a perennial power in the state of Indiana. They'll come up from the Greenwood area and take on Carroll this Friday. And that, by the way, is a 7:30 start. And I guess at some point I'll have to tell the boss because we'll have to rearrange our timing of everything this Friday night.
Yeah.
But East Noble shuts out Wayne 42-0 and take nothing away from East Noble. It's a good football team, but come on. Wayne, you've got to at least score. You're playing at home, a new regime, a new era, and not great there for Wayne. Cecina takes care of Concordia. Bishop Dwenger, okay, it's time to rent an offense. I mean, they have gone a couple of years and they have struggled offensively, and they went through multiple quarterbacks because of injuries last year. They But come on, you're healthy. You got to be able to score something. I
Yeah.
mean, your defense steps up and holds Roncalli to a field goal, and you can't win the game. I wonder. I mean, that doesn't happen often. A 3-0 score.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see when the last 3-0 score happened for either of those programs.
And then Northrop, impressive. Callison, David Callison has so many weapons, and he was finding them. And I mean, if he gets time, that's going to be the key. I don't know if Northrop has to run the football a whole bunch because they've got so many explosive weapons in their passing game, and they put it on New Haven 41-0. That game had the running clock, and then unfortunately, according to reports, there were fights that broke out in the New Haven student section. And I feel bad because in our post-game show on Friday, I didn't clarify that it wasn't on the field, and then I felt awful after I listened to the show back and realized I said that and didn't
Yeah.
clarify it was in the stands. Um, was not anything that, according to what I understood with the facts, anything that involved the players on the field. It was a fight among students. It was contained to the New Haven side, and unfortunately, it was enough to cause the ending of the game early. Now, it was already 41-0, and so I'm sure there was a concession. They said, yeah, we'll just end it right now and take the 41-0 score. And Northrop's 1-0, New Haven's 0-1. They're not going to continue it. It's not suspended, but Northrop impressive in that opening win over New Haven. And I think what impresses me maybe even more is we expected the offense to be able to put up points.
Yeah, that's
We
what I was
thought
going
that
to
was
say.
going to be a pretty dangerous, high-flying offense. But how about Northrop's defense pitching a shutout?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. That's a positive sign, hopefully, for things to come for a Northrop team that has let up a lot of points in the past couple of years. So hopefully that defense is a little bit more grounded to support that offense.
Last year, Northrop put up 53 against New Haven. They might have been on their way to 53 because of the running clock. I don't know how many more they could have scored, but they gave up 48 last year.
Yeah.
It was 53 to 48. This year, 41 to nothing. Marion, kind of a back and forth game with Southside. Marion ended up winning it 48 to 42. That was a shootout. That was a game where neither team could stop the other. It just was whoever had the ball went down and scored, and then the other team got the ball, they went down and scored. Nobody was getting stops in that game. We were following it.
We were
Uh,
waiting for it to end.
Waiting for it to end. It wouldn't end because everybody kept scoring, so they had to go line up for kickoffs. So it just took forever for that game to get over. Westfield put a thumping on Homestead. Not only did they beat the Spartans 35 to nothing, but tough news for Homestead. I am hearing that their starting quarterback, Michael White, is going to miss significant time. I don't know if it's been disclosed, the injury. I had someone from Homestead that kind of filled me in, but I'm not going to share it because I don't want to publicly talk about it. But I will just say it will keep Michael White on the sidelines, if not for the entire season, which I would expect, for the majority of it. And it is a shame. A senior who has started for 2 years, and this was going to be his year. He gained all that experience over the last couple of seasons. And then in the very first game of his senior year, he gets hurt. And this is one of the things that kind of sucks about high school sports, Adam, is there's no red shirt. I had the same issue with my son when he was in high school, tore his ACL, had to try to fight to get back, came back after 4 months because he didn't want to miss the last part of his season because you only get four of them and there's no red shirts. Believe me, my son would have continued to take, you know, uh, tennis as an elective. He would have been more than happy to continue with 5 or 6 years of high school if it would have given him another year of basketball. But unfortunately, you lose that year, and now Michael White can't show what he can do with that 2 years of experience as quarterback for Homestead. They're going to struggle offensively without Michael White. I will just say that. And it definitely changes the complexion, but it's next man up, and we'll see what Chad Zolman can do with Homestead losing a very important piece in the first week of the season.
Yeah, definitely a tough loss. And yeah, I've just not heard great things about what happened either. So keeping him in the thoughts because you do hate to see that happen. But like you said, this does definitely change the kind of the outlook for the rest of the season in regards to the SAC standings. No question about it.
And a couple of other SAC games. One, the defense impressed me. One, I did not get impressed whatsoever. And I know the offenses they went up against were very different. But Northside held Northridge to 7 points. Northside, I think if they can play that kind of defense all year, I don't know if they're going to compete for a championship, but I think they can be over 500 and be an interesting team come postseason. But Snyder just could not get stops they needed against Warsaw. And I know, Bart Ball and all the triple option and everything they run with that unique offense. But they were doing it with some new players. You've had a whole off season to prepare for it. If there's ever a week you should be prepared to go against that offense, it would be playing Warsaw in week one because you've got the extended window of preparation. And Snyder just got steamrolled. 391 yards of rushing against the Panthers in the opener. How do they respond to that? Because that is not acceptable.
Yeah, not acceptable at all. No putting down of Warsaw or their program at all. We saw what they did last season, but you do expect a little bit more from a Snyder football team. And letting up 38 points, that's going to be too much. And if you carry that into the SAC, then you're going to be lower in those standings than we thought. So we'll see.
Snyder doesn't lose many games when they score 30.
Exactly.
And 38-30 final. Snyder loses to Warsaw. Huge win for the Tigers. What was it? The first win in like 30 years or something?
Yeah, I think
40
since the
years? I don't.
70s. Yeah, 70s or something like that is what
It
I
was a
saw.
long time since Warsaw's beaten Snyder. And then Northside gets an impressive opening win, 21-7. They take care of Northridge. Northridge, kind of a mid-pack team. They're not necessarily high-level competition, but they're not the bottom rung. But a team Northside should beat. But holding them to 7, I'm pretty impressed. So congratulations to Northside for getting that win. Other big wins: Columbia City gets a win against Northwood. It's always a tough trip to go against Northwood on the road. So a good win for Columbia City. You had Eastbrook getting a 1 point win at Huntington North. That's a nice win for Eastbrook. That's a measuring stick for Huntington North. They had such a good run last year, but I think they'll bounce back. Heritage continues the woes of Belmont, 42-0. It's really challenging right now for the Belmont Braves. Mississinawa all over Norwell, 35-0. NE8 didn't have a great night to open up the season, but again, pretty even competition. All right, so we're going to talk more about little what's ahead with high school football. Griff is going to join us coming up later in the show. Right now, though, it's been a busy day for Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball, having an elite camp, having recruiting commitments or obligations. I got to be careful, choose my words wisely. I can't say commitments. I can say uh, obligations or in the neighborhood or whatever I might be able to say. But let's get the man himself to join us. It is the coach of the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons, and we'll squeeze him in here as he barely fits. But Coach, how are you?
I'm good. I'm going to pull over here, though. I'm sure there's some driving regulation here against being on Sports Rush while you're driving. So I'm heading down. We got recruits in town. I'm heading downtown to the Bradley right now. So not only do we have a elite camp, but we got some guys heading in town. So anyway,
How
great
how
day
has that
today.
how has that changed, Coach? Recruiting with the transfer portal taking up some roster positions each year. How do you determine the number of incoming freshmen? What type of players you're looking for? How has it changed?
Well, I mean this is where I'm growing from that. We're anticipating we're always going to sign three freshmen. That's kind of been our number that we believe. We're not changing what we've been doing for the last 15 years. We've had a ton of success. We're going to continue to do that. And with this year, we have three players that are seniors on the roster. If you don't consider D'Lo, who we anticipate getting a medical red shirt back, and so we're looking at that as signing three that would fulfill if we had everybody return and those seniors. And it gives you a nice start kind of going into the spring. Same formula that we had this last year. And I thought that worked out well for us.
Well, you ended up with quite a few transfers that came in, and so getting a chance to get everybody together in the summer. What was your goal of what you wanted to accomplish? Because this is a little different for you. You had more people to mesh this year than maybe any year you've been the head coach. What did you want to get accomplished in the summer, and how do you feel you did in accomplishing your goals?
Well, I felt a little bit like I did 3 years ago when you know Jared Godfrey and Damian and those guys graduated. And we lost five starters to graduation and four 1,000 point scores. And so that next summer when Rashid came in, and Jalen came in that group, we did a lot of live that summer to mesh, Q and Eric Mulder and those guys. And so, in that sort of transition, I thought that was a good flow. So almost a test to what we did this summer. We did a lot of live basketball. And we still went through our teaching progressions, but that's what was exciting to me is, we had 10 newcomers. 5 returners, so 8 scholarship newcomers. And I was really excited about, you know, reworking our teaching progressions. And, you have to play some live to allow the guys to, have some mistakes, make some mistakes as they go through, with live play. So that was good. So we still taught a ton, but then did a lot of live and actually did kind of like our Mastodon scrimmage, our last day in August. And it was like August 5th, which we usually don't kind of put together full scrimmage until we get into October. But I felt like let's kind of see where we are. Let's bring some people in. We had fans there. We had about 35 of our big donors there watching our guys, and so got to put them on Front Street and see what they could do. And some guys really showed out well with the lights on, and some other guys like they had some jitters as they went through, and then it worked its way out as we scrimmaged. So really excited about the whole progression part. I think as a coach, teaching is paramount to be successful. Like we're all talking about NIL and recruiting and transfers, but you still got to get them to flow. You got to teach. And so that's where we spent a lot of time working through those progressions this summer. And I thought my staff did a phenomenal job with that.
Coach, you've always been kind of a perimeter-based offense with a post presence. I looked at the lineups and the personnel that you've got on this roster. It's completely different than what you've had. Instead of it being a lot of smaller guards with quickness and all, there's some lengthy athletes. There's some guys that can play the perimeter that are 6'8", 6'9". I'm not disappointed about it at all. But I wonder, does it create a 5-out type offense? Do you have to change some of the things you're doing with the different personnel, or do they have to plug into certain things that you like to accomplish offensively?
Well, we did add more length and size, which I love. You've watched us through the years, and we really flood side and put intense pressure when the ball's on the side, and sometimes that leads to inefficiency from 2-point field goals. We've always turned people over, but we've given up some easier baskets because if you don't have the length and the size, and intense ball pressure, and almost to perfection, you don't get the length to clean up mistakes. Your mistakes end up with easy twos. And even in our best defensive teams we've had, that's been an issue that we've had with the lack of length. And we added that this year. But yet we also can play just like we did last year. We have a roster that can go out there and play exactly like we did last year. But yet also we can flex. I mean, we have 2 guys that are 6'9", that are newcomers, in Ibrahim Kaba and Yuval Levin, who both can play the 3, 4, and 5 for us. Both are 6'8" and 6'9", and they have great skill, can really shoot it, and so that's exciting. Now you play those guys at the 5, and it is a 5-out situation. And so, I've challenged my staff to dive in over the next couple of weeks. Let's make sure not only in our motion, but we're installing some play actions on dead balls that are going to take advantage of 5s that have perimeter skills.
Let's talk about some of the individual personnel that you've brought in, what you've learned about them during the course of the summer. Do you have any kind of summer awards as far as I know? Like there's always been guys that you have pointed out as far as getting the most 3-point shots up during the summer, or guys that win some type of crazy competition. Did you have any of the newcomers that to fit in had to participate in some of these silly games that you like to play?
Well, yes, we did have some newcomers, and really what you're referring to is our pod challenges. So we break our team into 5 teams of 3, and a big part of leadership is learning how to lead and being placed in those situations. So when you have 5 teams, you're forced. You have a pod leader, who we're disseminating information to that individual, and we're leading the competition. Some are basketball, some are other athletic related, like we have our fishing competition, we did our beach volleyball, we did a cooking competition, we did then we do some fun ones where it's social competitions. There's 12 restaurants that I believe everybody in Fort Wayne must eat at to really experience Fort Wayne, as well as the festivals. And so guys collect points going to those. And so we get them engaged in the city and out socializing. And then we did, strongman contests, our Summer Olympics, where guys picked up additional points there. So yeah, I honestly, it's been 3 weeks since they've been on campus. I don't recall exactly who won those. I know our Gym Rats contest. We did have some newcomers really, really challenging from that. And, outside of our, time that they spend together in the gym, they're getting extra work with our GA, which are, as we call uncountable hours. Our GA can spend as much time as they want with them. I mean, they could spend 8 hours a day working out, shooting in the gym with our GA and rebounding for them. And, our guys are getting up between 20 to 35,000 shots outside of our organized basketball workouts and our pickup, that's where we've really, won our championships and built winning teams, is from, April through September, and that extra time in the gym. And we had a great effort towards that again this summer.
How many pies did you take in the face?
God, I think I took 3 pies. We take a lot of, there's a lot of respect to the coaches that take a lot of pies. And I spend so much time out now, fundraising in the community as, we develop Dons for Fort Wayne, our NIL, and we've always been, big in the fundraising in the community, but, I need my staff to continue to really step up there, with individual touches and attention with the team. And they did. So, I was pleased I got 3 pies still, 3 out of 15. But yeah, I mean, the guys do a great job, and that's one of our summer traditions. That Summer Olympics, which is strongman contest on steroids, where we actually, it was raining that day. We couldn't get out to play softball, have a home run derby, so we added dodgeball as our finisher. But I'll tell you what, the strongman part of it, we do NBA combine stuff with our 185 repping out and our pull-ups. It was the best group in my 15 years in Fort Wayne with our 185 rep outs, and our pull-ups. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, just there was no bottom. I mean, it was high level and then extreme high level. I love where our strength base is right now. This is going to be a physical group. They're going to be physical. They're going to be long. We have great athleticism, but we also can really go small again, like we have in the past 2 years as well. We can get really small and quick as well. But rebounding the ball is going to be key, like always. But having some more length in there will be fun.
We know the changing challenges of the portal, and how that affects recruiting overall. It affects your schedule. We know the NIL also impacts your schedule, like you said, dealing with fundraising and meeting with donors. But also in there, you've got to be able to put together a schedule, because if there is no game scheduled, that's all for naught. How has that changed? Because it seems like right now, college basketball, with growing conferences, they have more conference commitments. There are more obligations to television networks for some of these conference battles. There's less holes in there for them to fill with schools that are mid-majors. And I imagine it's becoming quite a challenge, with budgets being tight and everything, trying to arrange a schedule every year.
Well, the number one factor to have success on the floor is you got to have good players, and so I put that paramount in this year, and probably sacrifice the schedule a touch for that. And when I say sacrifice, I know you'll love our schedule, but in terms of sustainable, great home schedules, you got to create home and homes, and hopefully really challenge yourself in that space, which we always have done. But this year we're taking it to the road a little bit more than I'd like, and a big time schedule. I mean, from we got you got Utah on the schedule, you got St. Louis on the schedule, you got Ohio State on the schedule, you got Notre Dame on the schedule, Grand Canyon Bryce Drew just took over that program a couple years ago. And so, a number of those games are going to be road guarantee games where we get paid to go on the road where they don't return the game. And, that's a source of the cost of doing business for college basketball has gone up significantly. And this year we're feeling it. And so I'm doing my part that side as well as out, beating the bushes as we raise NIL to keep bringing good players in there. But it's going to be a really challenging schedule. And we've always done that, but typically we've had 2 to 3 of those games. We're playing 5 this year, which hey, let's go at it. We're going to play the best. It's going to be a great challenge for our organization. But we also got to make sure we're balancing out so we get great home schedules for the fan base of Fort Wayne as well.
I know that the university to the south has already announced it. I don't know if there's anything official, but there's going to be an exhibition that fans here will be pretty excited about.
Yeah, and I think Ball State announced it, so we can go ahead and leak it out there. It's so hard to keep things out of the media these days.
I mean,
it's
out
but
on
yeah, we got
social media, and
October 27th, first time to see us live.
And that's going to be
let's
similar
go
to
for
like
it, man. I mean, it's awesome. Ball State's coming here for an exhibition. Yeah, last year we had Notre Dame,
Center, which I think
this
will
year
be
we have
even a bigger treat.
This year we have Ball State. Yeah, no, it's gonna be phenomenal. That's been a game I think we beat them at our place in the CIT 13, something like that. Maybe 15. I can't remember. But no, it was later than that.
16, I think, or it wasn't 16. It was might have been 15. I think we may have lost Coffman.
Yeah, I think we did.
The signal was looking a little shaky there, and he was freezing up. But I think well, maybe we can get him back.
Let's try.
I know that he faded out, but I think we've got him back. Coach, we lost you there. We were just talking about the exhibition against Ball State, which is going to be at the Gates Center, which I think is going to be a real treat to fans. I know details.
Brett, I can't hear your volume.
You're not hearing? Okay. Not sure what happened, Coach. I've got you.
I got connected. You. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I can hear you now. Perfect. Well,
actually, I don't think it's a problem.
You got me on the road while I'm recruiting.
Coach, I don't think it's a problem with your speakers. I just think you have never listened to me for so many years. It's become a habit.
Well, that's probably very true.
But no, it's. I just wanted to wrap up as far as the schedule. Of course, you can kind of see what's out there by going to gomastodons.com. But I think that Ball State exhibition is going to be a lot of fun for fans. I think they'll get a real treat with some of the new names and faces and talent that's joined this program. And the fact that it's at the Gates Center because of the Coliseum ice situation, they're still doing some work there. So I think that'll be a real treat to have. And I say that treat because it's just before Halloween. But it will be a lot of fun. I think fans should kind of plan on that to come out and check out Mastodons basketball.
Yeah, that'll be the first time to see us against outside competition. We scrimmaged the weekend before against Valpo, and then we're going to end up playing those guys. But it's great, now they've changed the rule and we can play Division I teams in our exhibition slate. I think that adds to our home schedule. You get to get a sneak preview of what we have, and and we'll get our true rotations, but we're going to get everybody in that game as we're trying to kind of still figure out how these 10 newcomers fit into how we're going to play. And I think the other big announcement, I don't know if this was on your agenda, but we've outgrown Fort Wayne Country Club. I don't know if I've shared that with you. The announcement's coming out this week. I've kind of done it through text, but casino night at La Veta, luxury event venue downtown, PNC building, 26th floor, the old Summit Club. Blue Spoon did a renovation of it. Mike had a beautiful facility. I mean, you overlook Tin Caps, your summer home. and all of downtown. It's going to be another phenomenal event. We were pushing 500 people last year, and it got too crowded at Fort Wayne Country Club, and so hopefully people will join us from across the city October 25th. You'll be able to find a link online to be able to register and attend. But exciting for the program again.
Looking forward to it, Coach. We'll let you get to your Sunday evening of recruiting. We know how important that is. Always enjoy having you jump on. Glad we could work it out. Glad you took the time to pull over so to keep the road safe in Fort Wayne.
I appreciate it, and I expect you to bring me on for some high school football these days.
Okay.
I went on the road this week. I got to see.
Oh, did you take the road trip to
Your
Roncalli?
spread was good. I took the road trip to Roncalli.
Wow.
I did. Your spread was accurate, unfortunately, but the points of defense was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, yeah, bring me on. We'll do a high school football edition here.
We'll get. Well, actually, I might just go straight to the source and get Tommy on.
Oh,
All right, Coach.
That'd be great.
Thanks, man. We'll see you.
Anyway.
Well, I think I cut him off.
There was a little delay.
Sometimes you got to cut him off. Anyway, always great to talk to Coff. By the way, I don't know if I said something I shouldn't have. I may have caught him off guard on Ball State a little bit, but it's all over. I mean, if Ball State's going to announce it and the two universities don't come together on announcing it together, how are we to know that it's not official for Mastodons, but Ball State's out tooting it? And it's in Fort Wayne, so you'd think Purdue Fort Wayne would want it being promoted, right?
Koff said it was fine. He said he said we could talk about it.
Yeah, it's trying to catch up. Well, I can say this: he did mention a couple of games that the other opponents, and that's why I brought this up. The opponents have announced it, but the Mastodons don't have it on their website yet. Dons will open up with Grand Canyon. That's the opener. I think it's November 3rd out in Phoenix. And then they will go to Ohio State for game 2 on November 7th. So it's Grand Canyon, Ohio State to start things off. That's nothing easy to get the season underway. It should be a lot of fun. And of course, he was mentioning some of the pay games, which are the ones I enjoy the most when you get to go to some of these bigger arenas and have a little better atmosphere than going to Commerce, Texas for East Texas A&M, where
I hear that one's real nice.
200 people showed up to the game, and that's generous. So we've got, let's see, it's going to be Grand Canyon, who, by the way, that Grand Canyon, I don't know if they're still classified as a mid-major or not, but Grand Canyon has filled their arena of 7,700 for every basketball game for years. They had Dan Marley. Some people would remember from his days with Phoenix Suns. He was their head coach, and they replaced it with Bryce Drew. And that place continues to be packed for every home game. It's a great college basketball atmosphere. And for opening night, it's even going to be crazier. And then Ohio State is Ohio State.
Yeah.
You're going to have Utah then like a week later.
Yeah, Salt Lake City.
And then straight from Utah to St. Louis to take on the Billikens. They still the Billikens?
They are.
And the former Indiana State coach that's now at St. Louis. So, yeah, it's and then, of course, the Notre Dame game right before Christmas in South Bend.
Nice.
All right, we got to keep this show moving as we bring in our giant head to provide information about high school football.
No giant head tonight. I made the correction.
We have the coach, Shannon Griffith. You hear him all night long on Friday, pregame and game coverage of high school football on 1380 The Fan. He joins me for the play-by-play up in the booth, and he joins Jim and Duke for all of the pregame festivities. He also is the man here in Fort Wayne covering Indiana University and the Indiana Hoosiers. It is Coach Shannon Griffith. Griff, did you just do something, do a new podcast for the Hoosiers? Tell us about it.
Well, we did one for the Hoosier.com right before this where had some of the writers there and kind of gave our hot takes and predictions on this year's 2025 team, and kind of going through the schedule and what record will they have at the end of the year, and talked a little bit about the college football playoffs and how that's an ever-changing subject, and how Indiana's been the whipping boy of the SEC here for the better part of 2 weeks, and it's fun. The season kicks off next Saturday. Time to stop talking and start playing is about what it comes to. So,
last year, I think we had, at least I had a better feel for how good the Big Ten teams were. And knowing there were a couple of teams that kind of, in my mind, stood above the rest. And those were the greatest challenges. Ohio State, Oregon, of course, Michigan's always in the mix, but I didn't think they'd be as good last year. But this year, it seems like maybe the power has shifted. There's more of a balance. Do we have the strength at the top of the Big Ten like the Big Ten has had in the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, I still think you've got the Penn States and Oregons there that are, a nationally power ranked team in terms of what they put on the field. You never can take Michigan totally out of the picture because their defense is going to be really good this year. We'll see what Bryce Underwood does as he steps on the field of 100,000 instead of 3,000 in, a high school field in Michigan. But from all reports, not just coming from the Michigan beat, he has performed quite well in the summer.
Well, for $250,000 a football game, he better perform.
Well, yeah, right. But it's hard for a kid that's he was number one kid and going to LSU, and then Dave Portnoy got all involved in all that stuff, and next thing you know, he's flipping to Michigan. But you never know how a true freshman is going to act in an environment that he's not accustomed to. Now, there are some kids that just doesn't bother them. They're just so well. They're such an athlete that it rolls off their chest, no big deal. But I don't think you can ever pop Michigan out of the equation. But what I do think is that there's a lot more parity now in not just the Big Ten, but across the board in these P4 schools because of the money factor. I mean, Indiana, I don't think you can sit here and not mention Scott Dolson and President Witten there and what they have done in terms of preparing Indiana for this shift. And they were ahead of the curve 2 years ago. And what they've done since then is pretty remarkable in terms of NIL opportunities, as well as now with the college, what do they call it now? I'm so brain dead today. It's falling out of my head. Well, but the profit sharing. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Profit sharing.
But here's the thing. Indiana got it right on two fronts. Number one, they prepared financially for the state of the sport now. And as you said, the NIL and everything is all in place. They can compete with anybody in the country when it comes to NIL. And part two was they hired the right coach. They got both of those things right, which is why we can talk about Indiana perhaps repeating what they did last year, and that it was not a fluke, because when you're putting together a roster and you're trying to get talent, the two things, people want to go to a winner. They want to play for a winning coach, and they want to be paid what basically they could make elsewhere. And Indiana now can compete for any kid they want because of the way IU has kind of set it up perfectly in football.
Yeah, and the culture there that Coach Signetti has brought with him from basically everywhere he's gone has always seemed to have had the attraction of top recruits. And we're seeing that now in recruiting with the classes that he's assembled. These freshmen, soon to be freshmen are, coming in, that maybe the portal will not be as heavily relied on in years to come because they're developing kids within their program because they're paying them, right? And they're getting kids there and they're staying there and, not wanting to jeopardize that money. I mean, let's face it, that may be one scenario that keeps kids in place as opposed to this jumping all over the place, because Indiana, like you said, if they really want a kid, they can make it happen. They can make that happen in football, but also in basketball. So they've strategically positioned themselves to be in the discussion of teams nowadays based upon last year's record and the expectations and who they've gotten in the offseason as a potential disruptor in the Big Ten like they were last year. And 11-2, when your two losses are against Ohio State, the national champion, and Notre Dame, and a big win against Michigan at home, who went into Ohio State and beat them, and then throttled Alabama in the bowl game. I mean, so people are out there talking like, Indiana was some fluke. You look at who they played and who they lost to, and then who some of those teams went on to beat, like Michigan, and got really good there at the end of the year. So it's like I said the other day, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Indiana football has been in the minds and hearts of the college football world for the better part of 2.5 weeks. And that itself is worth its weight in gold. There's no NIL going to give you that type of publicity and brand awareness than that alone, because people want to complain about Indiana's success last year that got them into the college football playoffs, and they're still pissed off about it.
Well, and of course, last year, everybody wanted to talk about Indiana's schedule. And this year, everybody wants to talk about Indiana's schedule because they want to talk about the non-conference. The SEC goes to 9 conference games. How close are we to having a standardized schedule in college football among all the bigger conferences?
Probably sooner rather than later. I do think what's going to happen here, and even Cignetti in that press conference where he made the comment about the SEC philosophy on scheduling, had said they would be more than happy to play a crossover game with P4 teams in the SEC, Big 12, ACC, as long as everybody's playing 9 conference games. And if you're not going to play 9 conference games, then we have no interest in discussing who our non-conference schedule is with you. So, the SEC check that call at the betting line, and now we'll see what happens, because they up the ante a little bit. And it's kind of a fun banter, but I do think you'll see the Big Ten adopting that philosophy where schools can play 2 group of 5s, and they must have 1 P4 team in there. Now, whether that's a, matchup Big Ten versus the SEC one year where you kind of take them down the line and, one plays one or whatever, we'll see. And then that maybe rotates with the Big 12 ACC as we move on. But I think it's for the betterment of college football. I mean, I wasn't thrilled that Indiana canceled the Virginia game. I think that was a reasonably scheduled game in the eyes of everyone out there. Even the Louisville game, that in itself had some interest because of Braum and the close of being so close between Indiana and Louisville. But the Virginia cancellation, I didn't necessarily like that because it was bad. It was a bad look because it's, when you go out and
it almost was like they were trying to make a point that we're not going to play anybody.
Yeah, and they basically said that, well, we'll get 2 home games for the next 2 years by doing this because it's now we're not in a home environment with a Virginia game, and that's what they did.
You can actually make money on home games now.
Well, and you see how valuable that's going to be now because of the added pressures on different campuses, their budgets. I mean, Indiana just signed that big deal with First Merchants Bank for $50 million over 20 years. That in itself boosts that kitty there for a lot of different things, not just the stadium, because they're doing a lot of stuff there, but also how they use that money strategically within their athletic department to bolster their athletic programs.
So Indiana had a final scrimmage to get set for their opener. Have all questions been answered? How do you feel about this team? What do you think this team's capable of doing, wins and losses wise?
Well, Sig's a very guarded individual when it comes to practices. So they open them for maybe 45 minutes, and that's about it. So you never really get your eyes on the team as a whole. But from the conversations that I've had with the guys at thehoosier.com who are there every single day, they say the kids got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and that they're kind of taking offense to all the flack that they have been given and talking about, them not being worthy of being in the conversation. So I like what Signetti has done, and everywhere he's gone, he's been able to have a team that's focused on what's the here and now and not worrying about the what's behind you or what may be in front of you. He's all about the here and now, and he's always done a great job in preparing his players, and he'll have them prepared. But this Old Dominion team, and I tell people this, and they give me a cross-eyed look. Just go look at what Old Dominion's done the last couple of years. They went to Virginia and beat Virginia Tech. And then they went and played South Carolina last year in a 23-19 ball game, and South Carolina was hanging on. So the Sun Belt has had some notorious upsets, a la App State, Texas A&M a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
And not to mention the App State, Michigan upset many years ago. But so this team that Old Dominion is bringing in is the best this coach has brought to the table in 6 years, or that's what he believes. And he's been there for 6 years. And if Indiana does not come prepared and focused to come out firing on week one, this ball game, even though Indiana's laying 22.5 points, it could be a lot closer than a 3-touchdown spread.
Coach, I want to ask you a couple of quick questions about high school football because we've got a fun one coming up this Friday with Center Grove coming into Carroll. And Carroll, of course, tested themselves. We mentioned earlier on the podcast, tough injury for Homestead. That's going to certainly change their season with Michael White being out. But there's two games I do want to talk about, Center Grove, Carroll. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, again, with what they've done in scheduling, and it's a little bit kind of the conversation we're having at the collegiate level right now. The Summit Athletic Conference is now putting themselves out there to go play the teams in Indianapolis because there is a little bit of a rivalry there about who is the better football power when it comes to Indiana football. And Indianapolis is basically firmly planted the flag there as that being in that right now. And I think they've proven it. SEC did not have a good performance on Friday night when it came to out-of-conference games. Only 2 wins out of all those games, and it was 2 teams that you saw one, yes, a possible winner with Northside, and we didn't know what we were going to get with Northrop and New Haven. But at the end of the day, I think we're in a youth movement within the SEC and Northeast Indiana in some respects where we're going to have a lot of teams that are going to be young and getting to that pinnacle state championship for a team in the Summit Athletic Conference, or maybe even in the NE 8 for that matter, may be a little tougher this year because of youthfulness.
Well, let's talk about SAC versus NE 8. We saw a good one on Friday, but I'm very intrigued by what happened to Snyder against Warsaw and the fact they've got to go up to East Noble, who was pretty impressive against Wayne.
Yeah,
that could be a heck of a battle up in Kendallville this Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be a real battle. And we know the fact that East Noble goes as Riley Biddle goes, right? If he's on and he's running the show, he is a competitor and he can make plays just like he did last year when we had him there in the Lightning shortened game last year. Yeah. They were handing it to Snyder up for that first half, and Snyder got punched in the nose, and they did not know what to do. So it's going to be it'll be a dogfight up there because Snyder's mad they lose to Warsaw. Playing a team like Warsaw is not a great deal because you got that wishbone, and that can cause you tons of problems. But it was turnovers. I think Warsaw had like 14 or 17 points off of Snyder turnovers, and that in itself tells you right there. In the first game, turnovers and untimed penalties kill you the most of all in those games, and we saw that on Friday night.
The the 391 yards rushing for Warsaw didn't hurt either.
Well, right. And that's, again, that goes to that offense that they just run magically. It's a thing of beauty when it's run right. And, Bart Curtis does a heck of a job with it, and their kids buy into it. And it is an offense that can get a lot of yards and a lot of big plays. And they do it, and they've done it well for the last 4 or 5 years there.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, I thought Snyder would be prepared to defend. They've got terrific minds and experience in their coaching staff. And if you're ever going to play Bart ball against Bart ball, the week you want to do it is your opener. So you've got a whole summer to prepare for it.
No question.
And so I was surprised, 391 against Snyder, regardless of how much time you've had to prepare, regardless what type of offense is being run. That still, to me, is signs of Snyder needing to do some work and do it quickly.
And I didn't glance over Warsaw's, roster to see where they're at with their team, but I'm going to guess that they're probably a little bit upperclassmen, heavy in that regard, some respects.
Well, they got one back that is kind of the returnee, but that's a system where you just plug in the next guy.
Plug and play.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have
how many years he's done it, whether it be Mishawaka or now at Warsaw. I mean, just it doesn't matter really the talent. It's the system that makes it work. That's why, they identify with the coach. But
he's good at it. And 5'10" offensive lineman's fine with him. You don't need 6'4", 300-pounders.
Nope. You just get leverage and misdirection, and you've got, all you need is one little seam, and boom.
It's gone.
Somebody's going for 10, 12, 15, if not to the house. Griff, we'll catch you out at Carroll this Friday. And
absolutely.
We'll see how Indiana does this Saturday. And where's the best place for Hoosiers fans to follow you?
Yeah, you can catch me over there on thehoosier.com, as well as the Hoosier Tailgate, and on Twitter at Hoosier Tailgate. And if you follow me there, you'll get a link tree to where you can get all my stuff there, as well as thehoosier.com.
This guy's got it covered. He's got his own link tree. I mean, we have one place. He's got a whole list of websites. He can't even keep track of them himself. He can't go through the list. He just says, "Well, go to my link tree."
It looks good, but it don't make me a damn thing.
All right, Griff. Always
see you guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And that is Coach Shannon Griffith joining us here on the Sports Rush. So what do you think, Adam? You got a chance to listen in on Griff and I talking about this Friday, and I think there's two games that are going to be a lot of fun, Carroll and Center Grove, because we get to see, again, Fort Wayne challenged by a team from Indy. This time the team from Indy has to come up and play on our turf. And then Snyder East Noble is going to be very interesting up there in Kendallville.
Oh, yeah. As far as a more interesting one between those two, I might have to go with the Snyder East Noble, just because it's a bit more of a local connection between those two teams. They've played each other, and it should be a good game. But also, we're definitely looking forward to covering Carroll Center Grove this Friday, and it's going to be nice to be up there at Carroll.
Okay, so the Indianapolis Colts continued their preseason. They wrapped it up with their final preseason test. This was more or less just to find out who was going to fill the final roster spots, who's going to make the special teams roster. How many tight ends do they keep? How many defensive linemen make the roster? But of course, a lot of the eyes are on the quarterback position. We already know QB1 and QB2 because that battle's been settled. But now, who's going to be the third quarterback? And I think, in my mind, Riley Leonard did enough to earn that job on Saturday.
I think so too. And again, it's preseason. You can only take so much into it. A lot of just, end of the roster guys fighting for a spot. But at the same time, that means there's a little bit of effort out there on the field. So I thought it was a good enough performance from Leonard as well to earn that QB3 spot.
The Indiana Fever just about set to tip off. They're in Minnesota tonight. Oh. And, you've got to give them credit because this team, I mean, it is bad. The number of injuries that they have had. They right now they have almost, from their original roster, They have almost as many players. In fact, I think it's even the number of players that are now out, and not necessarily out for the season, although most of them are. But Caitlin Clark, obviously, they are hoping to get her return. But I think they've got 5 or 6 that are out, and I think they started the season with 11 or 12 on their roster. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, the wheels have fallen off the wagon, so to say. And then now you just start even bringing questions. Do you just keep an eye on your, standings, and if you get playoff elimination, do you let Clark rest the rest of the year? Or,
Well,
I don't
see,
know.
they've got huge games because the teams they're battling for in the playoff positioning, and I don't know if they can get knocked out of that position, but it's close. But
Mm.
they're going to go to the Valkyries. They're going to go to the Sparks. They're going to go to the Mercury. They've got teams that are sitting there in their vicinity around 500, and they're going to be having head-to-head games on the road against them. They've got this game and one more still against the Lynx, and that's not easy, especially Navisa Collier is supposed to come back and play tonight. Yeah, the road is not easy at all for the Fever, and it's a shame because I went into this season thinking they were one of the 2 or 3 teams that had the best shot at the championship, and now it's kind of fallen apart. But anyway, well, that was odd. Just left. But anyway, we'll wrap things up. I don't need to keep this going any longer. We've been on for over an hour, and we always appreciate you on Sundays. Don't forget to make sure to subscribe, like, and share the channel. Click the bell so you know when we go live next time, and that way you're always up on the latest content here on the channel. The channel is at Brett Rump, and of course the channel name, The Sports Rush with Brett Rump. And you can follow us on X. I am at Brett Rump Sports, and you can keep up with what we've got. We also have the X account at Sports Rush 1380, and that still also will keep you connected with what's happening here. But certainly appreciate you. Thanks so much for the comments. We'll get through those, and we'll have some more videos. Tin Caps return home. They won their last 2 games. What a win on Saturday. They were down 4-0, and they came all the way back, won at 5-4 with 2 runs in the top of the 9th. And then today, they rolled to an 8-3 win over the Lake County Captains. So they've got a 2-game winning streak coming back home, playing Tuesday through Sunday, and it's the final 6 home games. So there you go. Hope you have a terrific Sunday night. Let's go watch the Fever, and you can always catch this video. If you didn't catch the full video live, you can catch it because it will be posted in its recorded form. But have a great night. Thanks for joining us for this edition of